All right, there are 3 places in the New Testament, see if you can name them, where someone is speechless. Can you name one? Silence. If you're online, I'm hearing a lot of silence. What is a time? One of them should be very easy. Think about John the Baptist and his birth. Oh, it helps when you turn it on. There you go. Anybody remember? His father. Yeah. So what happened when the angel said, "You're going to have a baby"? Did he believe him? No. Guess what? You can't talk now. And so that's the first one, Zacharias. All right. There's another one that you probably hadn't noticed, but it is the guys with Saul on the road to Damascus. All right. They hear the voice, but they don't know what's going on, and they don't understand it. All right? And some people want to say, well, this is a contradiction. In Acts 9, you get one story. In Acts 22, you're going to get another story. Do you ever hear a voice, but you can't understand it? Yeah, that happens every day at my house. Because I'm at one end of the house, and she's talking to me at the other end of the house. And what? Has that ever happened to you? So these guys that were with Saul, they were hearing the voice. They didn't understand it. And the Bible says they were speechless. All right, then there is one more. And it is our text today from Matthew 22:12. And I just put that guy. He is that guy. Because every time you have a gathering, there's always going to be that guy, right? And that's this guy that is the focus of our attention today. David saw the wedding feast. He says, "Oh, no, you're not doing Valentine's Day too." No, that's just kind of incidental to the story. So it's just a sidetrack. But we will be looking at the parable of the wedding feast. So that guy went to a wedding feast and didn't bother to dress appropriately. Now, you may have read through the Bible and you hadn't really noticed this guy, but we're going to notice this guy today. All right, so imagine you went to a wedding feast, and your wedding feast that you went to probably looked just like this one, where everybody's all dressed up. Everything's going great. This is actually a picture of the wedding feast at Cana, where Jesus turned the water into wine. But I'm sure your last wedding you went to looked just like this. And always there's going to be that one guy, and here he is. Right? He's that guy, he's out of context with everybody else. He's kind of in his own world. He doesn't care about anybody but himself. That's this guy. And don't be that guy, okay? So we will read Matthew 22, beginning in verse 1. This is the parable of the wedding feast. And again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son, and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again, he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business. And the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers, burned their city. And he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. They were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you will find. I was supposed to click at verse 6 or verse 8. I said to his servants, the feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads, gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there was a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, bind him hand and foot, and cast him into outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, and few are chosen. Now, I believe Jesus was actually talking about the Israelites. They were those who were invited, but they would not come. So what did he do? He invited everybody in the world. And there is good and bad gathered up there. But you can't go to the wedding feast without your garment. What's the deal about the wedding garment? Well, in case you don't know, the culture at that time said that when you have a wedding, you're going to not only dress the bride and the groom, you're going to dress all the guests. There will be a wedding garment provided for you. So you don't have to worry about renting a tux or whatever we do these days. You're going to get a wedding garment when you go to the wedding of the king's son. All right? So why was that guy there without a wedding garment? What does that tell you? Well, he didn't care enough to put on the one that was given to him, and he deliberately was trying to insult the king. If you were in that culture, that would have been very clear to you. You said, man, what's the big idea? What's he thinking? So that's that. So the ability to speak, if used properly, is a good thing. The ability to have something to say is better than not being able to say anything. This man had nothing to say. And I'm sure there's a concept there. When you've been caught and you don't know what to say, maybe you've been caught up in a lie. Maybe you've been, caught in doing something wrong, and you just have nothing to say. Here's the Lord. Here is the Lord who finds this guy at his wedding feast, and he didn't even bother putting on the garment that was given to him. All right, that's the situation. So what lessons can we learn from this? We want to focus just on these verses. The king came and said, how did you get in here without a garment? Where's your garment? And that's what we want to focus on. Well, what's the lessons that we can focus on today? First of all, God intends for us to enjoy Christianity. People have the idea, you can't become a Christian. That's going to take away all your fun. Obviously, they didn't grow up like I did. I had a good time in the church. We would get together and we had fun. course, what's your idea of fun? And we will talk about that again in a little bit. But the wedding was a joyous time. It was not a time of drudgery. It was something people looked forward to. Very often the wedding would last for a week. You imagine a wedding for a whole week? It was all my wife could do to have a wedding for one day for the kids, right? It took everything out of us. Imagine that went on for a week. That's just, boggles your mind. So this was a joyous time. You think during that time life was pretty drudgery is the word that comes to mind. Pretty sad. More people were connected to the land. Small plot farmers. All right. We got any farmers in the group? I don't think we do. And that's, we're so separated from that. Anyway, you think about your microphone and how precarious it is when you're holding it. Wow. So this was a time of joy. This is a time they looked forward to. And I heard an illustration of a guy that was out hunting. And he got lost. And finally he followed a road and came upon a country store. And, I've got it made now. And so he was able to buy, bologna and crackers and all the, get him a RC Cola and a moon pie, all the things that you would buy at the country store. And he filled up on that. Well, he walked just a little bit down the road and he came upon a house of a friend of his. He saw it on the mailbox. Well, that's got to be my friend. And he knocks on the door, and his friend is having a birthday party with a banquet. He says, come eat with me. And he says, I am so full of junk food, I can't enjoy your banquet. And that's kind of the comparison of the worldly pleasures is like the junk food. All right, and the pleasures that God has waiting for us is the banquet. I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, this is a joyful time, and that's what we want to think about. Sometimes good things aren't the best. So you imagine what did the people do that were invited but didn't come? Well, one went to his farm. One went to his business in verse 5. And some just beat up his servants and killed them. The farm and the business, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Now, the beating up somebody and killing them, that's bad. But the idea is, they might say, well, I am doing a good thing. I am taking care of my family. Here's the bottom line on that. If something is a good thing, but it's standing between you and the Lord, it has become not a good thing. You see the difference? Now it's not a good thing. And you've seen it, and I've seen it. When does a good thing become not a good thing? When it's interfering you going to be with the Lord, doing the Lord's business. Sometimes good things aren't the best. Sometimes we settle for good when there is a banquet waiting for us. All right, and that's the idea for that. The third thing is no one deserves an invitation. Those people who were invited didn't come. Guess who's not invited? You and me, not the Jewish people that should have been eager to go to the Lord, but you and me. We are those strangers out in the highway and byway. And we've been invited into the Lord's banquet. Guess who's in here? There is good folks and bad folks. Guess what? In the church, you might be surprised, there are hypocrites. You might be surprised in the church, people can be selfish. People can be rude. You just name all the things. Why? Because the problem with the church is it's full of people. and people have problems. Everybody's got baggage, right? You've got baggage. I've got baggage. Guess what? I don't like for you to see my baggage. I kind of keep my baggage all covered up. I don't like to talk about my baggage. I want to talk about your baggage instead. Guess what? Everybody's got problems. And it's the church. It's not a hospital for saints. It is, or it's not a resort for saints. It is a hospital for sinners. And that's where we are. We need help. We came here to the banquet just like you did. But what? We need help. Ephesians 2, 8 through 10. None of us will be saved by our merits and works. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and it's not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest anyone should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Why did God do this for us? For good works. That's our job. We didn't come here to not do anything. We came here for good works. 1 Timothy 1, 12 through 16, Paul viewed his salvation as proof of God's mercy. Every day we should wake up and be thankful that the Lord has mercy. He is full of mercy, and I need all of that I can get. So at the feast, there is good and the bad. Think about the parable of the wheat and the tares. So in the parable of wheat and tares, Matthew 13, beginning in verse 28, there were a field, wheat grows up, and guess what? Tares grow up. Now, I'm not sure what a tare is. It's a weed, okay? Probably looks a lot like wheat, as a matter of fact. He said to them, an enemy has done this. So the servant said, then do you want us to gather them? And he said, no, lest in gathering the weeds, you root up the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time, I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. Who's the wheat and the tares? That's the good and the bad. That's the good folks and the bad folks. They're at the king's banquet, but guess what? Just because they're at the king's banquet doesn't mean they are pleasing the king. Doesn't mean they're doing what the king would have them do. All right? Look down at verse 36. Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And his disciples came to him and said, what are you talking about? I love the disciples. You know, they're clueless about half the time. And we get to know the end of the story, so we get to laugh at them because they're clueless. Well, we'd have been just as clueless as they were if we'd been in their shoes, because they're just thinking something way over here, and Jesus is talking over here. Jesus answered, the one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the Word, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who has sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom. Let me say that again. Out of his kingdom. These guys are in the kingdom. All causes of sin and all lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace, that in that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. That's going to show up again. That phrase is going to show up again in Revelation. We have been warned. Just because you're looking around and you say, hey, I'm in a field of wheat, I've got it made. You might be the tare. You might be the weed. What's going to be the difference? How can I look at myself? Am I the good guy or the bad guy? Always, we need to keep that in mind. We don't have it made. We don't want to go to the wedding feast and be that guy, right? So not all in the kingdom will be saved. Matthew 13:49, there will be at the end of the age, the angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Oh, well, there's hypocrites in the church. Guess what? Lord knows who they are. I don't have to worry about that. They're not fooling the king. We'll just wait till harvest, and we will separate those guys from the good guys. It's not hard. On the harvest day, angels will take care of that. There's hypocrites. There's people in the church that are bad. Guess what? We don't have to get all excited about that. The Lord is going to take care of that. All right? Now, we don't have to meet God unprepared. Why? This man was not unfairly accused. He wasn't invited to a wedding feast. He was poor and he couldn't afford a wedding garment. He was, you can just make up all kind of excuses. He got there late. He was taking care of his sick mother. You can just make up all sorts of stuff. I don't know about you guys. When I'm driving and somebody pulls out in front of me and goes slow, I will have something to say about that. And my wife likes to take his side just because she's a fair and balanced person. And she will make up excuses why that guy is doing that. Guess what? The Lord of the harvest, he knows our hearts. He knows our hearts. And, all we can see is the outside of people. What's the Bible say? By their fruit you will know them. I don't know their heart. Only the Lord knows their heart. That's up to him. I don't have to know their heart. Why? That's the Lord's job. That's out of my circle, right? All right. We can be prepared. We need to have the proper spiritual garments. Those saints in Revelation that are martyrs, what are they? They are dressed in white robes. What about that? Do we need to put on white robes? It's figurative, not literal. You can wear white robes if it makes you feel better. Don't feel like that's what the Lord wants you to wear, all right? Don't try to bind that on somebody that likes to wear colors. All right, we don't have to be unprepared. The man was given or had available wedding garments. If you've got the Archaeological Study Bible, it will tell you that in the footnote. All right? If you read Adam Clark, it will tell you that. Same thing. Man's going to be given a garment. Why was he condemned? He was presumptuous. He was expecting things. He might have been proud too proud to put on that frumpy wedding garment or whatever. He was presumptuous. And so that's the question. Do I feel like I'm the exception? And that's really where we're gonna just kind of hit this lightly and move on. Here's the idea. I feel like I'm special. I don't have to do everything that everybody else does. I'm special. I'm the guy. And that's that guy that goes into the wedding feast, you know. Do we get the feeling I don't have to take care of my body? I'm going to be the exception. I can smoke and I don't have to worry about lung cancer. I can eat bad food and expect good things to come out of it. You can see where that's going to go. Romans 12:1 and 2, present your bodies as a living sacrifice. And, you know, that's that. What about how I treat my friends? I can act any way I want, and my friends will still love me. Because I'm so special, that's why. No, Proverbs 18:24, a man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. What about who I marry? Of course, this was written, I wrote this like in the 80s, I think. That's how old this is. It's got whiskers. You know, you do this with young people. Some of these people think they can just marry anybody, and, you know, they're going to just magically turn out okay. And I've seen this especially. Young ladies, they will go get some guy that, man, he is no good. And they're saying, I'm going to fix him up. How does that work, Brother Shane? It don't. And I've seen this happen more times than I can count. It's easier for him to pull her down than it is for her to pull him up. And yeah, I've seen it happen where he gets pulled up, but more often than not, she gets pulled down. And you've seen that. All right. What about my kids? I can teach my kids that get a job. I can teach them, you know, take care of the world and let the church teach about God and teach them everything they know. And I think Shane talked about that this morning also. You look at how many hours the parents have, mom and dad have, compared with how many hours the church has. And that tells us a lot. We have to talk about the Lord as we wake, as we're walking on the road, as we lay down at night, all day long, every day, until your kids get sick up and fed of it. Yeah, they do. And that's what you have to do. We have no other choice. How about who I marry? How about my kids? I am special. I can do what I want, raise kids my way, and they're going to turn out all right. Guess what? You're not special. You're not special. All right, what about my attitude toward the church? I can give a little bit, and the church will still grow. There's a verse I'd like to read, 1 Corinthians 3, 6 through 9. And we're nearly done. Just give me about 3 more minutes. Hang on. 1 Corinthians 3, 6 through 9. I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. So neither he who plants nor he who waters has anything, only God who gives the growth. He who plants and he who waters are one. Now listen, each will receive his wages according to his labor. The church might grow without you, but what? Are you working to make it grow? Each will receive his wages according to his labor, for we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. We need to do what we can do and let God give the increase. He is the Lord of the harvest. That's what we do. We keep plugging. We keep trying. I will do what I can do even if nobody notices. Why? The Lord's noticing. The Lord can see my heart even if nobody else does. The Lord can see my fruit even if nobody else does. We're not here to impress one another. We need to get that out of our system. We're not here to be recognized. We are here to serve the Lord. All right, do I take God's mercy for granted? 1 Corinthians 15:51, not discussing salvation, but what? Behold, I'll tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, in the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. So I've been listening to a book by C.S. Lewis talking about this very thing. And he goes into a long thing. The gist of it is where we are now is going to be so different from that life. We just cannot imagine it. And I believe that. We can get little glimpses of it. We read in Revelation or we read in different places. We can get glimpses of what that life is going to be. It's going to have a body. It's going to be immortal. It's going to be a happy place. We will have something to do, and I don't know even all about that. But what? It is so far above my plane of existence that it's like a little boy imagining, some far off place. It's like I can't even think about that. It just means nothing. And I believe that. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. We need to be prepared. When we are called to the wedding feast, put on our garments and join the feast. Do what is pleasing to the Lord. This man was at a loss for words. He had no excuse. He had nothing to say. And I found this picture. Here's a guy. He has nothing to say. It's just an empty thought bubble or speech bubble. But what? We don't want to be that guy. Instead, we want to accept the Lord's invitation, put on the garments of his righteousness, and enjoy the feast. And that's where we are. Let's pray. Who's got our closing prayer?